The offset, my God, yeah, this video boss has really told us a whole lot of things to do. So we can CT scan images? Should we? Yeah. It helps, of course, it helps. Nowadays everyone has CT scan. You know, 10-20 साल पहले जब मैं कहता था CT scan वो इतना खर्चा होता है, वो ये होता है, वो होता है. Now I think now it's acceptable that you ask for a CT scan, right? That is really me. So we found out that there was a decent medial wall thickness. There it is. We found that a normal range should be this, of course, but this was adequate enough. We don't want to perforate it. We don't want to perforate this if we can. So now it's a contained defect. Otherwise it becomes an uncontained defect. That's a big problem.
So in preparation of these cases, sir, would you keep a mesh with you always?
Yeah, we keep it around. So we have a mesh which is a stainless steel thing. It's a filter. They use it as filters in industry. So we keep meshes around which are sterilized, ETO'd and all. And then if I need it, I can cut it. So these are filters. You can get it. 316 steel. You speak to your hardware guy, and he has stainless steel meshes, believe it or not. So we have a whole sheet which we keep ETO'd, and then we can cut it, and then we can re-ETO'd. So I do keep it, but we need it. And we talked about it, like you said. We kept this available. We kept this multi-hole cup help because we get anchorage. Small and extra small cemented femur stems. We decided we would not mess around here. We tried to cement it. Minor size heads, etc. Because it might be too tight, and next low offset, etc. Like we talked about principal offsets. Whew! So now what do we do? We talked about it, and I told you there's a very neat way of doing it. We use the 15 number blade, just punch up, and it happens. And there we are. So that's the left side. That's the 15 number. I'm sorry, it's not showing very well on the screen. And that's the amount of bleeding is none after you dabbed it. But you can see how the adductors have retracted now. So you go very high up, and then you can just tick, 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 you will cut up. It's reasonably bloodless, just a little drop. So I do a lateral approach, more posterior southern approach type thing like we saw in the tight capsule. We talked about the tight capsule. I've cut it. Circumferential release is done all the way across. Then the femoral head is visible, but I think I must have already cut off the neck at the osteotomized. I didn't osteotomize it. I just went through the fracture. In this case,
so is it easier now to take the head out of with the?
No. But that's why I mentioned that with the fish mouth.
So you actually break the head and take it out or curate it out?
Yeah. So you need to do this piecemeal. Now this is what I've made. Therefore I've mentioned it. This is one step further to last case. This is a fish mouth acetabular rim. It's a very small rim which is gripping the neck. It's not going to come out. So what you can do is you can take it out piecemeal and you can see it curate, etc. Or you can ream here on top. This is a propeller on top. Very carefully ream it. Mouth becomes a little bigger, and then you take out the piece from the inside. In the end, you have to take the piece from the inside. You're left behind the sequestrum. So femoral head extraction, like we said, sequential reaming over the rim, and the head until the head is extractable. So good question. That's the answer. Reaming over rim and head. There we are. You see, you're sequentially doing it, so it starts getting bigger and bigger. That is the head, which has been reamed on top. That's the edge of the acetabulum. And now you can remove that piece. So just like Vijay used those pedestal assignment pin in the morning, this is the original Chandni pin. 30 saal purani hai, 35 saal. We have it. Works. There we are. So now we do an acetabular preparation. Now in the acetabulum, inside you have fibrous tissue, and you try to do reaming. The reamer will, if you press, the reamer will go in. So what you do is you score the inside of the acetabulum with a knife or with a cautery, so that the fibrous tissue gets shredded, and then it gets sort of picked up with your reamer, with your brushing. You brush with the reamer. You don't really ream. You sort of brush it so that it all comes out. So now you have raw bone inside. So all of you with me right now? This is an advance on the first case I showed you. This is the next step. The morselized bone, like I keep saying, that you have that, I showed you in the first case, and then you squeeze it through your gauze, and then that is what you're left behind. So it's got a little structural integrity. And in this, if you really wanted, you could probably put flakes and chips and so on in addition. But we got that. So this is now a good amount of bone, which is used for the augment to lateralize the acetabulum. You impact with a liner impactor. You know, in a sense, the acetabular liner impactor. So you put this in and tack, 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 impacts.
Sir, is there a role of reverse reaming to impact it?
In this kind of case, if you do reverse reaming, it will all get shredded.
Okay.
So here it's best to just use this, I think, and then just keep impacting it. And then you do a trial. You do a trial with that on, and well, we got so much. There you have, then we put a multi-hole cup. Multi-hole, which you put it up, you can see all this over there. You don't wash. Now you don't wash. If you wash, all the graft that you have here will wash out. So you keep wiping it with a swab on holder. So I saw Vijay in the morning was just using big swabs. But I think you should use a gauze piece which is on a sponge. And you keep, you know, now you don't wash. And you look for the structural integrity, like he was showing you in the morning, same sort of thing. You rock it and see that it's reasonably well. And if you have a good rim fit, then you have all this graft inside, you have pretty good hold, and further so that you are able to control the rotational stability, you think of putting your anchor screws.
So in rheumatoid, sir, if you are reaming at 46, would you put a cup at 46 or you would actually put a cup slightly down?
I always ream one less. Unless the company that I'm using, I think Zimmer, Smith & Nephew has a line-to-line reaming and so on. So you need to be pretty aware of it. And like I made a comment in the morning for those of you who were there when Vijay was operating, you must insist that you have reamers which are 1 millimeter in size. And all companies will supply you 2 millimeters happily, because they need to then have the inventory. But I don't operate unless they give me 1 millimeter in size. Yeah, 1 millimeter you must have.
Usually the reamer that you use, that is matched with the company, and it is definitely slightly larger than the reamer that you use. So they will give you the same number of cup that you have.
My question was, it is a rheumatoid rather than an arthritic osteoarthritis. So the bone is actually a bit soft. So maybe size 2 plus. Yeah.
Now the other comment I made when Vijay was operating it, I like to use liners with a posterior wall there, which you can dial into your position of greatest safety. The greatest safety is superior and posterior. So you can dial it. That gives you greater security. Other than the fact that you want to use a large head, use a 36 size head. Hey, era of doing 22 size heads is really now Purana Jamane ke. Use larger heads. The larger the head, the greater the stability. And if you're not using a ceramic liner in the acetabulum, you're using ultra high density polyethylene. This is something that works for me and works for my patients. So you tell all patients, ये मत करो, वो मत करो, सब कर लेते हैं. कर लिया और dislocate हो गया, तुम्हारी fault है if you are the surgeon. So if you've secured yourself, other than all the stitching and etc. which you do, so I use a long posterior wall, dial for additional coverage.
Everything comes at a price. So what is the downside of using a posterior?
So my contention here was that in your case, the trochanter is actually sitting right at the, you would probably have difficulty, as you rightly said, to create an offset. So would such kind of liners give you a bit of impingement?
Therefore you put your finger and you check in your, like I said when Vijay was saying, I always use a trial. In the trial then I check, is it impinging? If it impinges then we'll lever it out. So he said, well he was very comfortable, but I would have, if I was doing it, I would put this in and I would do a trial, and then I would know in which position to dial my thing, 2 o'clock or 11 o'clock, etc. But this is a great advantage, and I only operate with this available. Okay, so like I was telling Amal, I have the luxury of having this. This is a very sclerotic head neck. So femoral canal I opened with the Midas Rex. It's very skinny. That's why it had fractured. I opened it, but that's okay. If you don't have it, you can drill it and so on. Rasp with sizes, size 0 CPT stem, cemented into the canal. Cemented. This bone is bad bone. I don't want to have this patient uncomfortable, snapping the bone after 2 months or 2 weeks, rotating it. I want stability. So I had planned that this would be cemented. So this is now a high. This is an advance on the last case I showed you. But because canal is rubbish, etc., so we have a cemented option, which is what we did. So, like Vijay was playing around in the morning, I do the same. So we played around with this. Reduction too tight, hip unstable. What options do we have now? The question that Dr. Oberoi asked. It's tight, it's not moving so well. What options do we have? Okay, so this is what I talked about. 1954 or something, this was described. WAS operation.
Facial undertaking.
Temporary hanging hip technique, 1955. For osteoarthritis in 1955, the thing that was recommended was for the hip, you went round and you released all the muscles. You did tenotomy here, you did tenotomy here, open or close, and these patients did very, very well. And that included tenotomy of greater trochanter. Excellent, let's get better projection here. What? Look at this, you can't even read it. Can you read it? What a shame. Okay.
We can read it.
You can? Just about?
the point.
Okay. So you release all the muscles. So just like you release the capsule in the morning, well, we release the psoas also. We did it. So we did a hanging hip operation. Very good question, but this is the answer. Okay. So that helped with the femur down. So we did the iliotibial tack, so we did multiple section IT band tenotomy like we do with polio. Adductor tenotomy I showed you right in the beginning. Minimal release of the abductors from the GT till we could move it a little bit. Then sustained gradual manual traction for about 10 minutes. Keep touch here. Again. Bring around the femur to the level of the acetabulum. After detension in soft tissue, 36 size ceramic head, hip reduced, found to be stable. Tan-ta-da, so we did. So this did well. Now how well we show you. So here I have engaged the cortex here. It's got a little grip here. This is holding here, and I have a rim fit. And this is the amount that I have made up with my morselized bone graft and impacted it in. So we burn it out, and this is cemented. Cemented, you can see the cement restrictor. Well, this sort of worked. Now we don't know WAS hanging hip. So is that a bad thing? This was the only thing to do. There we are. This is what we started with. This is what we brought it down to. And this is her sitting up, post-op. So same day surgery, we made a sit-up. Integrity of sciatic nerve was checked, and that actually is got cut off from doing this. She was able to move the foot up and dangling, hip mobilization, walker assisted walking. She walked, there she is. Okay. So here what we made her do was to flex. At least you can see the flexion part. It's a movie, but it's not good. Flexion. So, hey, I've done a release of the psoas. 3-4 days down the line, she's able to do this. Not fully, she's able to do this. That means it's all going to now start forming. She's able to do this as well. Abduction as well. So, this was the only thing I could have done. Even if I had osteotomized below these subtrochanteric osteotomy, this was the thing that worked. She's doing well. So, you need to do pre-op planning, and everyone talked about it in the morning. You need to do implant selection. You need to know which we are. I wanted to do cemented. I wanted to use a long posterior wall for the acetabulum. You need adequate exposure. Small exposure is not going to work. Soft tissue release, that includes the muscles if it's required. And you need to know augmentation of all the acetabulum. So we kept mesh and we kept all that there. But luckily we didn't need it. and then you do supervised rehab. So any question at this stage, guys? So let's get the next thingy. How do you show me? I mean, show me how to get the head, the greater stability. And if you're not using a ceramic liner in the acetabulum, you're using ultra high density polyethylene. This is something that works for me. It works for my patients. So you tell all patients, ये मत करो, वो मत करो, सब कर लेते हैं. कर लिया और dislocate हो गया, तुम्हारी fault है, you are the surgeon. So if you've secured yourself, other than all the stitching and etc. which we do, so I use a long posterior wall dial for additional coverage.
Everything comes at a price. So what is the downside of using a posterior?
So by contention here was in your case, the trochanter is actually sitting right at the, you would probably have difficulty, as you rightly said, to create an offset. So would such kind of liners give you a bit of impingement?
Therefore you put your finger and you check in your, like I said when Vijay was saying, I always use a trial. In the trial then I check, is it impinging? If it impinges then we'll lever it out. So he said, well he was very comfortable, but I would have, if I was doing it, I would put this in and I would do a trial. And then I would know in which position to dial my thing, 2 o'clock or 11 o'clock, etc. But this is a great advantage, and I only operate with this available. Okay, so like I was telling Amal, I have the luxury of having this. This is a very sclerotic head neck. So femoral canal I opened with the Midas Rex. It's very sclerotic. That's why it had fracture. I opened it, but that's okay. If you don't have it, you drill it and so on. Rasp with sizes, size 0 CPT stem, cemented into the canal. Cemented. This bone is bad bone. I don't want to have this patient uncomfortable, snapping the bone after 2 months or 2 weeks, rotating it. I want stability. So I had planned that this would be cemented. So this is now a high. This is an advance on the last case I showed you, but because canal is rubbish, etc., so we have a cemented option, which is what we did. So, like Vijay was playing around in the morning, I do the same. So we played around with this, reduction too tight, hip unstable. What options do we have now? The question that Dr. Oberoi asked. It's tight, it's not moving so well. What options do we have? Okay, so this is what I talked about. 1954 or something, this was described. Was operation.
Facial undertaking.
Temporary hanging hip technique, 1955. For osteoarthritis in 1955, the thing that was recommended was for the hip, you went round and you released all the muscles. You did tenotomy here, you did tenotomy here, open or close, and these patients did very, very well. And that included tenotomy of greater trochanter. Excellent, let's get better projection here. What? Look at this, you can't even read it. Can you read it? What a shame. Okay.
We can read it.
You can? Just about?
The point.
Okay. So you release all the muscles. So just like you release the capsule in the morning, well, we release the psoas also. We did it. So we did a hanging hip operation. Very good question, but this is the answer. Okay. So that helped with the femur down. So we did the iliotibial tack, so we did multiple section IT band tenotomy like we do with polio. Adductor tenotomy I showed you right in the beginning. Minimal release of the abductors from the GT till we could move it a little bit. Then sustained gradual manual traction for about 10 minutes. Again. Bring around the femur to the level of the acetabulum. After detention in soft tissue, 36 size ceramic head, hip reduced, found to be stable. Ta-da! So we did. So this did well. Now how well we show you. So here I have engaged the cortex here. Got a little grip here. This is holding here, and I have a rim fit. And this is the amount that I have made up with my morselized bone graft and impacted it in. So we burn it out, and this is cemented. Cemented, you can see the cement restrictor. Well, this sort of worked. Now we don't know was hanging hip. Is that a bad thing? This was the only thing to do. There we are. This is what we started with. This is what we brought it down to. And this is her sitting up, post-op. So same day surgery we made her sit up. Integrity of sciatic nerve was checked, and that actually is got cut off from doing this. She was able to move the foot up and dangling, hip mobilization, walker assisted walking. She walked, there she is. Okay. So here what we made her do was to flex. At least you can see the flexion part. It's a movie, but it's not good. Flexion. So, hey, I've done a release of the psoas. 3-4 days down the line, she's able to do this. Not fully, she's able to do this. That means it's all going to now start forming. She's able to do this as well. Abduction as well. So, this was the only thing I could have done. Even if I had osteotomized below these subtrochanteric osteotomy, this was the thing that worked. She's doing well. So, you need to do pre-op planning, and everyone talked about it in the morning. You need to implant selection, you need to know which we are. I wanted to do cemented, I wanted to use a long posterior wall for the acetabulum. You need adequate exposure. Small exposure is not going to work. Soft tissue release that includes